Hi, Wool Academy podcast listeners. Welcome to yet another episode. This is episode 121. And today's episode is also in collaboration once again with the Schneider Group, as I'm talking to another authentical registered wool grower. And my guest today is Susan Finnigan. She and her husband and son and daughter-in-law are farming together on their property called Kia Ora. And Susan was so kind to share her story, how they farm, what all they do to improve the animal welfare and the biodiversity on their property. So I do hope you enjoy this episode, and I'll talk to you again at the end. Bye for now. Well, hello and welcome, Susan. It's wonderful to have you on the Wool Academy podcast today. I hope all is well your end.
Yes, thank you, Elizabeth. It's lovely to talk to you. Thank you for taking an interest in Kia Ora.
Yes, so maybe tell us a little bit about yourself to get us warm and ready for our conversation. And also tell us something about your farm, where you are based, what you do on your farm, etc.
Well, I'm Susan, and I'm one of the partners on our farm. We're a family of 7, really. There's 3 generations living on Kia Ora. We are self-made farmers, essentially. There's 4 generations of knowledge. My husband and I are both from farming families, but we have had a long journey to end up with our own farm, which is very exciting. Where we're located, we're in southwest Victoria, Australia. We're at the end of the Great Ocean Road, so we're just north of Warrnambool. At the end, the 12 Apostles of the Great Ocean Road, everyone seems to know that. We chose to move here probably 20 years ago, and we chose Kia Ora as our farm basically because of, it's the soil type and rainfall. It's got beautiful volcanic soil over limestone, which was lovely for drainage, 750 mil rainfall, so that was perfect. And the location was close to schools for our children. So it was a perfect place for our sheep, which we have. We have merino sheep, obviously, and grow beautiful, perhaps about 17.5, 16.5 micron wool.
And so you're saying you only moved to that farm 20 years ago, and but do you know a little bit more about the history of the farm before you moved there as
Oh,
well?
yes. The farm's actually on Gundinjamara country. In about 1850, it was named Kia Ora. And then in around 1910, it was divided. It was a very large station. It was divided for closer settlement. The government decided that to populate the regional areas, it would be good to have smaller farms. So a lot of dairy farms around us, and that's how towns and things popped up. But it's also the reason the land was cleared. So it's not as treed as it could be. And so it's a special place also because we have sheep and not many other people do around here. Yeah.
And what made you, so you have a history, like you say, 4 generations of farming, but then you and your husband decided to buy your own farm.
Yes. My husband's father was a shearer, and he also very hardworking. He was, as a 12-year-old, he was living in a men's camp on a river in a tent cutting timber, sleeper cutter, because they were obviously large family, and that's what they had to do. Education wasn't possible. My husband and I, we've all worked off farm and progressively bought more land. We were in the Goulburn Valley and found we couldn't expand there. We moved to Lucindale in South Australia and loved it. We were there 4 years, and then there was illness in our family and blue gum plantations came and they offered us a lot of money to sell our farm to them. And we had 4 children, I think 2 at university. We were happy. We were aspirational. We were wanting to go ahead. So we took that opportunity to move, and so that's how we ended choosing Kia Ora. Yeah.
And I understand that you and your husband and also your children work on KiaOra.
Yes,
Yeah.
my son James, he's how old's James is in his 30s. He was working, he has an ag science degree and commerce background and was working in banking, but he's just bought a farm to the north of us. So we run the two farms together essentially. So now there's three of us working full time, and my daughter-in-law Nikki does some and also works as a teacher.
Okay. So a real family business you have
Yes.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is there a special meaning of what Kia Ora means?
Oh yes, Kia Ora. You have to. You
Sorry,
have to.
Kiora.
No, no, no. The Maori shearers are very keen on correcting me if I don't pronounce it properly. It is a Kiwi or a New Zealand greeting, but it means to have life or to be healthy, which is a lovely name for a farm. It is a name that is used in Australia quite often for farms, but in our case, it's quite special because we do have undulating hills, lovely green grass. I mean, 750 mil rainfall, we're green most of the year. So it does look a little like New Zealand. And we've had Maori shearers that'll sit on the landing during shearing and ring their mum and say, "Oh, mum, I'm homesick. You should see where I am. I'm on Kia Ora."
Okay. That's a lovely story. Yeah, and so moving on to how you actually farm, because I went extensively onto your website, which I will also link to in the show notes. And I actually want to read something from your website, because you say that you are running a commercial flock of superfine merinos, embracing ethical, sustainable, and profitable wool production. And you shorten it up by ESP. So talk to me a little bit about this turn of embracing. I think I love the word embracing, and then ethical, sustainable, profitable wool production. So what does that mean for you, and kind of how did you decide that that was the way you want to work your farm?
Well, it's not actually new. The way we work with our animals and with the environment, we've been doing since we started farming a long, long time ago. I think to have good wool, you have to have healthy, happy animals, and you have to like your animals. I mean, people used to tease my husband that, he liked his sheep a lot, and he would, always be more concerned for them than coming home in time for dinner, that sort of thing. But the actual word ESP, or ethical, sustainable, profitable, is not something new. It's a long-term plan. But when we were putting the website together, my daughter-in-law was looking for the words, and they were the words that kept coming up. They were the important things. And so ESP became the word. I think profitable is probably a word people don't like hearing, but we have to be profitable. We're aspirational people. We want our children to be educated and to have economic independence. So yes, we have to be profitable. So therefore you can farm sustainably. Ethical and sustainable to us is essentially giving back what we take out and doing it according to best practice. We are commercial farmers. We're not hobby farmers. I mean, sometimes we'd love to be a hippie in the hill, but we're based on science and best practice, and that's the way we want to farm, and that's what we want to tell people about what we do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and even then it goes even further. You also write about your values, and then you list all the efforts you've done to live up to your values. And one of them, you write, we acknowledge that historically agriculture was a driver for biodiversity loss, and it is our privilege to actively manage the land to redress this and be the solution. We use regenerative practices, tracking the changes to confirm improvements. So was there a particular moment in your farming life that you kind of said, oh, we need to acknowledge this, that there's this biodiversity loss, and that it is our opportunity to reverse this loss? Or what, like, how did this come about?
I wish I could say yes, that there was a light bulb moment, but
Yeah.
no, it really is about an obligation we all have. I think the more you know, the better you can be. So with knowledge, you have to acknowledge the past, and I think history's a great teacher. It's not our personal fault that the land was cleared and that it was extensively cleared, but it is the reality. And I think having land and being farmers, we can actually make a huge impact. The way we treat our animals, the way we work with the environment, if we do it well, we can make a huge impact on the environment, on the community. And so, no, there was no light bulb moment. It was actually a well-planned choice. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. And tell me a little bit, so you list on your website a lot of things that you've already done. Can you share these things that you have implemented or done to improve
yes.
your farm?
Oh, so much. When we moved onto the farm, it was very obvious that it was rather run down. So we essentially started from the earth, and we made sure the rivers were fenced off so that the grasses could grow and there'd be no runoff into the river. And we put the troughs in for our sheep. We reinstated the windmills so that they're wind powered, but we have electricity backup for safety. Then we actually did soil testing so that we could ensure that we were fertilising the soil as necessary and giving the trace elements, but not putting more that was needed on. We're looking at optimal production rather than maximum production. When we're sowing down pastures, we try and do it with direct drill and as little intervention as possible. But we plant mixed species perennials that are deep rooted, so they'll sequester carbon, those sort of things. We have some areas that are of high ecological significance, like the Winslow Gorge, and it's got beautiful remnant vegetation, and so we've fenced that off separately. And whenever we plant trees along that area, we only plant the species that are found there. And so that's basically how we started from the ground. And then as far as the animals, well, I mean, clearly in Australia, they're free range, they just graze. But we try and make sure that our monitoring is very astute, and we will do fecal egg tests, that sort of thing, to check that they don't have internal parasites, that sort of thing. We also, as far as ethical, we do things like we use cover combs or snow combs when we're shearing, so that we leave, it's like having a number 4 haircut. So we leave them in their thermal underwear so that they're comfortable afterwards. We also don't shear below the hocks, below the knees, so that, well, it's good the animal cannot be cut, but it also means that the processor, when they get our wool, will not get any of that short hairy wool. So we're looking at the whole chain and trying to make sure that we're doing the best with our wool and with the animal. And as far as people, obviously Australia has a great reputation for safety and having systems in place, but we make sure that that's what we do on our farm. And I think also, as far as people, we have, like, we're now a wildlife sanctuary. Although we don't have enough trees, we'd like a lot more. We actually are acknowledging that we make room for returning the native animals, and we enjoy that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and you shared on Instagram a picture of a koala sitting in one of the trees, of which you want more of. And was that like an outcome that, wildlife returned, or have koalas always been hanging around there?
No, that's totally new. When we moved here, there was only cypresses and pine trees, not native trees, nothing for a koala to eat. Sadly, I've planted a lot of trees near the garden, because we have Leo. Leo was our first koala, and he was an old man koala that I think may have been kicked out of perhaps elsewhere. And we thought he might be lonely, but now, no, he's got a family, and he lets us know he's around about 3 a.m. Koalas they're nocturnal, and they make a horrible grunting noise. I mean, and Leo is quite loud, but no, the koalas are very new, and they're wonderful. They can actually be annoying, to be honest, but they're beautiful. And the sheepdogs, the grandchildren, everyone loves them. Yeah.
But when I was on my honeymoon in Australia, we went to also koala bear sanctuary, and I think they sleep. Do they sleep like 18 hours a day or something, or a lot of
Well,
hours, but then they don't sleep at 3 a.m. it seems.
Well, two things. They eat a lot of eucalyptus and they're a little bit stoned.
Okay.
That's why they're quite drowsy. And yeah, they are nocturnal. They move around at night because they don't, water is not really an issue. Yeah.
So you don't need a rooster who keeps you up early in the morning. You have your koala. Well, but that's lovely that you see then also, your hard efforts are showing results, even though they keep you up at night. And but also one thing you mentioned also is that you also measure your progress, and before you also said that you're based on science, etc. And that also kind of leads me that you are also certified, and two, you are IWS certified and also for Authentico and Sustainable. So what made you decide to sign up for these different certifications?
Oh, we wanted them. We wanted to be at the front of the queue for them because when you're doing the best you can, if there's a standard that comes out, you want to know that you meet it. Without being a bit arrogant, we know that we more than meet the standards. And in a way, the ESP wool, we put together a plan, was my way of not just ticking boxes for a standard. We wanted to amalgamate the standards and look at Australian best practice and legislation and the requirements we have and put them all together. And so our plan includes how we meet all of those standards and a little bit more. We are very keen to demonstrate to the customer that we want to meet their needs. So we embrace those standards, absolutely.
And do you see benefits from these certifications?
Oh,
Because they're also
absolutely.
an investment.
Well, they are and they aren't. They're a little bit investment of time. It's documentation. My husband won't use the apps that we have, but my son and daughter-in-law do. But they're worth it in so much as when you sell your wool, you're saying to whoever buys it, we've done the absolute best. There's no higher standard. We've met Authentico, we've met Sustainable, we've met Responsible Wool Standard. And so I think that gives people confidence. It also is a really clever trick for keeping anyone who helps you on farm in line because they have to sign a declaration, and we have had no trouble with anyone. But what we've noticed is they're very proud to sign it. The shearers absolutely know when they come to KiaOra that if a sheep is ever cut or anything like that, they put antiseptic on. They know the rules at KiaOra. And they want to be proud. They're professional shearers. They do a wonderful job. And so they're happy to do it too. I think they like to see we've put the effort in for what they're doing. So no, we have no problem doing it at all.
Do you also see returns then in your wool price that you achieve with your wool? Or is it hard to tell?
No. I would say yes. We've sold some directly because of the certification. So yes, definitely. I think anything that provides competition for your wool has to be good. The more people bidding on it, the better. Yes, definitely.
Okay. And then I already went on and on about your website, that I found a lot of information there. And for me, it was really distinct that you are very open and transparent, because you go in a lot of details and talk about your motivation. So is this also something that is really important to you and part of how you operate?
I think to be ethical, you have to share what you're doing honestly. I really do. And I think if you're putting your information out there, you're probably being quite brave, really, because people can criticize you. But I think also if you're based on best practice and science, it's logical, it makes sense, and you can actually help people appreciate what you do. Our website is not for marketing. We're not selling anything. I mean, we sell wool, obviously, but it sells itself. That's fine. So the website is really for people to have a look, and there is a lot of information there. But the idea is that we don't know what people want to know, so we just put it all there and people can look at what they want. It may help educate a little bit or inform, and that's a good thing. I think it's a two-way street. We hear what people want, and it's nice if they see what we do to give it to them. So we're very happy. I think we're doing people a disservice if we don't share the process, because if you share your process, you're helping others to appreciate the work. Yeah.
And do you see a lot of people finding you and contacting you through the website?
Actually, the website, yes, not so much social media. The website, yes, we do see a lot of traffic on it. And we do get quite a few inquiries. My husband's like, oh, seriously, because we'll have some people call, they want just a couple of fleeces or something, and that's fine. Or we always find someone to pass them on to if we can't help them. And I think it's really nice, actually, if people feel that they're able to approach a wool producer and ask a question. We've had people who would like to buy wool from us because we align with their values, and I mean that's fabulous. We do sell to Wolfgang Scouter fashion brand in Australia directly, and they really appreciate the transparency. They've been out to the farm and they are confident, I think, because of the sharing we do. Yes.
Yeah, great. And yeah, you mentioned already also your social media, and you already answered my question a little bit that you don't get that much feedback maybe from there. But do you see that your social media more connecting with your network that you anyways maybe have? Or do you also see people connecting that you like from somewhere else in the world and that you wouldn't have otherwise connected with?
Facebook is a little bit just extended family and friends. Instagram is perhaps a little broader, but Instagram's a funny platform. A lot of people are trying to sell things. But I really like, how do I say this? A girl I was working with said, I really like it when you post what's on your farm because it reminds me of my childhood on the farm. And I think that's what's missing a little. Well, no, it's probably missing less now than it was. I think people were disconnected from farming and didn't understand where things came from. I think perhaps a little bit pre-COVID and post-COVID, people are far more in tune with growing their food and being more conscious of their shopping or a conscious consumer. And I think that has perhaps helped link people back to actual farmers. So even if we just affect one person, that's fantastic. The information we put out there, look, we could put more, share more and be more interactive, and people could get to know our personalities, and that might increase the number of people who follow us. But I don't really know that that's going to help people. My daughter-in-law was quite busy teaching with 3 children, so she does a great job putting what she puts out there, and we're really happy to put it out there.
Yeah, no, but everybody can decide for themselves how they want to, like how much of their personal lives they want to share and how much they don't. And so I think that's fully, everyone needs to communicate how it fits with your own values and personalities. So there's no right or wrong or something. Yeah. And then I also saw on your website that you are like either already won awards or you're nominated for awards. So tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, my children think I'm a chronic award applicant, but no, we were nominated for awards and we've had a little flurry of them, which has been just fantastic. And what's fantastic is it's across a broad range of fields. We just won an Australian award for biosecurity, and that's an awesome validation of what we do. It also means that we can communicate to other wool producers the standards that are perhaps out there and what they might like to do. We've won awards for environmental sustainability. Actually, that was one award I did apply for, and that was intentional. I was sent a link to it from a friend, and when I looked at it, all the businesses that had won were very slick businesses and all very urban. And I thought sustainability is all about agriculture and farming and the land. Where's the farmers? And I did enter it, but I didn't hit submit, thank goodness, because I typed up quite a passionate application, and I put a lot of information in that would be only really appropriate for someone who has an agricultural background. And thank goodness they sent a generic email out a week before it was due and said, you have a half-started application, would you like to finish it? And I did hop in and write something a little more balanced. And we couldn't believe that we won. It was phenomenal. There was a huge awards evening, and there's photos of sheep with all these recycled packages and solar panels and all the other clever things that people had. And the feedback from that was phenomenal. My daughter-in-law said, I've never been so proud to be a wool producer. And people were coming up to her and saying, oh, it's so good. And I'm really hoping there's more farmers that apply for that sort of thing. We've won awards for sustainable production techniques, which is good. Land for wildlife, those sort of things. It's that sort of earth people, animal friendly, holistic approach. And yeah, I think I won't be applying, or I probably won't accept nomination for awards now. I think we'll let other people have a turn. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's motivating maybe for others to hear that there are actually a lot of awards out there that we have a good shot at.
Oh no, we did very well to win. Come on.
Yeah, that is no, for sure. But no, I mean, that's motivating to hear that your work got honored and that others can try as well.
I think it's nice that it was a commercial family farm. Like, we're a viable, profitable farm. We're not just 20 sheep and they're all beautiful, but it's not actually making money. And we're not some industry size. We're a commercial family farm. And I think it was wonderful on that level to win, that we could actually be against rather more slick entrants. Yeah.
No, definitely. No, congratulations also from my side.
Thank you.
And then you and I also kind of connected through the Wool Connect conference. And I wanted to ask you, like, what were the key learnings that you took away from the conference?
Oh, I actually loved the conference. I learned so much. I think it goes back to that you don't know what you don't know. Just to see the people along the chain, the professionalism of the people and the passion of the people along the chain, and to hear about lanolin, and of course it has to be organic, and to hear about the brands and what they advertise and what they value. And I think even if you hear things that you don't necessarily agree with or that you're surprised by, I think that's really good too, because it just opens your eyes to the number of people that are involved, and it makes you realise, yes, we're very important, but we are just one link in a chain. And there's a lot of people with a lot of effort going into what they do and a lot of pride, and that we need to hear what they want and try and provide it for them, because we're really the source. So if you get it right at the start, surely it can flow through. Yes, yeah. I really enjoyed it.
No, that always amazes me as well, how much we depend on each other, because the rest of the supply chain can't do anything without your wool, but you can't sell your wool if the rest of the supply chain isn't there and doing their job. So it's really needs to be a really good balance.
That's what we found with forming relationships or getting feedback. Snyder's have helped us a lot with the vegetable fault. Well, we don't have vegetable fault because we're usually clean and green because we're quite lush, but also the length of the fibre that they like, the staple length, the details of what suits them for processing, and to understand that they try to use not chemical and less water, and they've got their quality systems they have to meet. So when you get the feedback, we actually can tweak our systems a little bit to give them exactly what they want. And that's the sort of thing that Wool Connect was just fantastic for. Yes.
And is there any other information that you think you need to, would like to hear more of, or what is missing? Or is it you don't know what you don't know? But
Actually, I think the joy is going, and if I was setting it up, I would probably put the things I know in. So I really enjoyed hearing from people I don't know. As far as marketing, I was surprised at some of that, and that was really good. Again, working with Wolfgang Scout is something where we've learned we will never, ever want to take our wool through to final product. We really respect the people that do their jobs. And I think that communication is just to hear from them. A girl came in to do a video clip for them, and she came to shearing. She'd never been in a shearing shed before. And she said, "Oh, I can't believe how relaxed the sheep are." And I looked at her, I thought, what does she think happens when you shear a sheep? They just sit there. Because we don't have, dogs that are barking or jumping on the sheep or anything like that. We're very gentle when we're handling our sheep, and the sheep are not stressed. And she came away with a totally new appreciation for farming. So I think the more people that are involved in things like Wool Connect, the better. Just to see where everyone else is coming from, and the preconceived ideas they have are just so far removed from what we think is normal. Yeah.
And that was actually also one of my next questions. Like, if you were to present like at a conference like Wool Connect, what would you be talking about? You already shared a small story with the shearing, but what would you think would be important to communicate?
I suppose my personal stuff wouldn't be that interesting, although we've had a lot of challenges, so they might be interesting. But as far as the farm, I suppose sharing what we do so that the processors can appreciate that. I do think, yes, I think that it's important that they realise that we are, or Australians are amazingly, we're a mature democracy. We have fantastic systems in place with regard to monitoring our stock and flock health, and that we put in what we take out as far as trace elements with our soil, that sort of thing. I think it does help if people appreciate the work that Australian farmers do, and specifically, of course, we could speak with what we do, but just to develop relationships along the chain, I think anyone who presents, it helps, yes.
Yeah. Okay, and now I already am at my last question, which is, went quite quickly. What do you actually love best about farming sheep and growing wool?
Well, I actually quite like sheep. And I love wearing wool, so it's a good mix. I think actually, personally, I do quite like nature. I've worked as a nurse and in quality and risk, and you're always under fluorescent lights and things. And just to have the life of being able to live outside and to have animals. When we're getting our sheep in, a 5-year-old ewe will turn around and walk up to me because it was raised as a pet lamb. And you just look and go, "Hello, Lammy," because I don't remember who they are. and that sort of thing is just to know that you've got happy, healthy sheep and that they're out there having a go. It's also a fantastic lifestyle for families. I think it's very meaningful, and I think children grow up with a wonderful appreciation for how to care for earth and animals, and I think that's a wonderful thing. Also, growing merino wool, I mean, I've never heard of wool failing anyone. It's a global product that's given a lot of pleasure, and so why wouldn't you want to be involved? Yeah,
and that reminds me also, you showed a few pictures of your pet you call them pet lambs, right? When they orphan lambs. So tell me a little bit, they lose their mother during
no.
How does it work?
Well, usually it's the smallest of triplets or something like that, and it'll be left behind. It may have been a bit weak at birth, that sort of thing. And we always try and remother them up. Sheep are much happier outdoors and looking after themselves. But if we can't, we will bring them home, and I give them some colostrum and then, feed them. And I'm trying to wean. You can't hear them at the moment, but I have 6 this year, and I'm weaning them slowly. They're on down to 1 bottle a day, except for Lightning. Lightning was a lamb that was very sick when we picked him up. I didn't think he would live. He was very flat, and we gave him electrolytes. The vet told me what to do specifically for Lightning. So because he had electrolytes, we call him Lightning. And now he has 2 bottles a day because he's a
He
bit
needs
of a
it. Yeah.
Well, he doesn't need it.
He enjoys it.
He just looks at me as if to say,
he has you around his little.
He does.
finger.
I think he'll be. I mean, they're in the garden and they make an awful mess, but we just do it every year. And some years there's only 2. Some years 6 is probably most. Yeah.
But then once they're mature enough, they join the rest of the flock.
Yes, they go back to their mob. They go back to their cousins, I keep saying. But I mean, quite often they'll walk back home, and I'm like, oh, seriously, back you go.
And then I had one more question that because in the beginning you said that you moved actually, I guess 20 years ago to this farm, and so how does that work practically? Did your sheep move with you, or do you sell a farm with the sheep and then you start, or you already have new sheep on your new farm? How does that work with the sheep?
Oh, you never sell your sheep.
Okay, so you bring them with you.
Yes.
Okay.
Look, farmers don't often move. It's not something we would have planned to do. We couldn't expand in Murchison, where we lived in central Victoria. And so, yes, we trucked our sheep across to South Australia. And I mean, it's a logistic nightmare. And we had my husband at one end and I was at the other. And then I started driving with the kids and realised we'd left the sheepdog behind.
Oh,
so
no.
we had to go 300 kilometres back to get Judy, but that's fine. It's a logistic nightmare moving, but it's something we've done. And look, it's been very good to us. We can't complain. It's not something I would recommend, but as far as growing our business, it has been the way we've expanded. Yeah. Okay. And yes, the sheep are happy to keep coming. Yes.
Okay, good. And then they adapt quickly to a new surrounding, or?
We're very careful with where we buy the farm. It's sort of a Mediterranean climate. It's very similar. The wool type changes a little bit. Where we are now, because we are green until Christmas, they talk about Australian bushfires and drought. We don't have that here. We are green until Christmas, and we probably dry off January, February, which is fine. And then we have moist March, I call it, with the rain starts again. So we have very little vegetable fault in our wool. So it has gone up a grade as such, and that's fabulous. Okay. We have to be careful with the way we breed to make sure that we keep that nice whiteness in the wool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thank you for answering those questions. Like I'm always about kind of the details, like how does that actually work if you have to move your sheep? But thanks for answering that. Well, thank you so much, Susan. It was wonderful speaking to you and hearing your story of what you do in wool and with wool.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. That was wonderful. I love sharing what we do. I give you lots more details any day.
Perfect. I'll be sure to call. Thank you and bye-bye. Hey, I do hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you want to find out more, then head on over to the show notes at elizabethvanzelden.com/121, so 121. And there you can connect directly with Susan Finnigan and her family. I have linked to their website, which we talked about extensively, and also, of course, the social media outlets that we discussed during this episode. I do hope you will be joining me again in 2 weeks' time, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.